Shirley? Here, okay.
Yes, here, thank you.
Mario?
Present.
Dan?
Present.
Stephen?
Here.
Phil?
Here.
Mayor Kathy?
Yes. All right. Thank you very much, Debbie, for doing that. Okay, we're going to begin. Do we have an approval of agenda? Anybody have any objections to the current agenda? Just I'll go through the Jerry Lee. Are you okay with the agenda, Jerry Lee?
No objections.
Okay. Mario?
Nothing from me, thank you. Nothing from me.
Dan?
No objections. All good.
Stephen?
All good.
Phil?
Fine. Okay.
Okay, great. All right, so approved. Thank you very much. Okay. How about approval of minutes? Are there any changes?
This is Mario. I don't have anything.
Okay, so if anybody has any changes, just speak yes, and then we'll go through a roll call. But if I hear silence, we'll just say it's approved. Okay, we are approving the minutes as they are. Thank you, everybody. Okay. And it's almost 7:35 right now, and we have a brief presentation from Mr. Scott Hancock. He's the executive director of the Maryland Municipal League. And would you like to introduce him, Debbie?
Sure, thank you, Mayor Kaki. Well, it's my honor, and I've known Scott for many, many years. We go back a little ways to introduce Scott Hancock, the Executive Director for the Maryland Municipal League, who is tonight going to be recognizing the town's efforts in improving our census participation of our residents from 2010 to 2020. So take it away, Scott.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Mayor Kaki and honorable council members of Garrett Park. Thank you for allowing me to join you tonight. It's wonderful to see that the pandemic has not stopped the virtual wheels from turning in Garrett Park. And it is a really special honor to be joining you tonight to acknowledge the hard work and diligence of you, your town staff, and the volunteers in your community for your outreach regarding the 2020 census. You know, it's hard to believe that it was about this time last year we were just starting to light the fire under the census initiative, encouraging municipalities from across the state of Maryland to ensure that their residents were counted. And I know it wasn't easy to persevere in that endeavor while more immediate needs of your community safety and well-being loomed daily. But I have to tell you, your results were extraordinary, especially compared to your 2010 census numbers. And several months ago, Planning Secretary Rob McCord and I talked and decided to issue a census challenge to Maryland municipalities. And we had planned to provide a bushel of Maryland crabs to the winners of the challenge. Courtesy of the two of us. Unfortunately, like everything else this year, an in-person crab feast didn't pan out. So Rob and I decided that we would pool our resources and purchase a gift card from a food establishment of the winner's choosing. Now, we know how tough this pandemic has been on the hospitality and restaurant industry, and we thought it was important to patronize a local business and do our small part for your local economy. And you chose the Black Market Bistro, a business especially close to you, since I understand it's located in the same building as your town hall. So we sincerely hope that you will enjoy sharing this award with those who made your success possible. I'm here tonight because Garrett Park surpassed its 2010 census response rate by the highest percentage of any other municipality in the state of Maryland.
Woo.
86.6% of your town's population responded, which is well above the state's 71% average response rate. And that's quite impressive.
What was the number?
That's
What's
Sorry.
phenomenal is that an 83% increase in response from the town's 2010 self-reporting census numbers. No easy feat in a usual census year. And since there's nothing usual about this one, kudos for the work that you all did to make this happen and turn around your town's response rate so significantly. So on behalf of Secretary McCord and the MML leadership, thank you. Thank you for making sure your residents were counted so that your municipality is able to get your fair share of future federal funding. Garrett Park is going to receive a $200 gift card, which will be sent to Debbie. So be very nice to her because she'll have the gift card. And we do hope that you're able to use it to sponsor an in-person celebration when we all emerge on the other side of the COVID restrictions. Thank you for your dedication to your community. Congratulations. I wish I could be there to hand this to you personally, but unfortunately can't do that. And I also understand that you do have a video which was sent from Secretary McCord, which is going to be placed on the town website and also sent to all of the council members. So I won't say anything else. I won't take any more of your time this evening. Congratulations. Have a safe and happy holiday season. And thank you so much for your membership in MML.
Thanks, Scott. And Scott,
Wow.
we did get the gift card today.
Excellent. Excellent.
What was the percentage?
You went from 2% to 86.6%.
2%?
That's what the state records have. I
In
couldn't believe it.
2010?
That just can't be.
That's crazy. No wonder it was 83% over 2010. I couldn't figure out how that percentage was so high.
I wouldn't be surprised. We might have been blended in with Kensington because the 895 and 896 gets blended, certain things.
But we're not giving the gift card back. So
You're not giving it back. I don't blame you.
This is,
But I mean that
I-
whether it was 2% or whether it was 10%, that's still a significant increase. So that's just fantastic, and congratulations.
Well, thank
We
you
appreciate
very
you.
much, Mr. Hancock. And I would like to throw out a special thank you to Joanne Schmader, because it was between her and some of Andrea before our town manager, Andrea, went on maternity leave, that they were working hard on this. And I really would like to thank you, Joanne and Andrea, if you're even listening. So thank you so much for your diligence and your efforts to bring us to the top of the list for Maryland. And Mr.
Unfortunately,
Hancock, thank you for talking
Go ahead.
tonight. Thank you.
Unfortunately, Andrea was not able to be on the meeting tonight, but she is here in spirit.
All right, thank you. So thanks again, Mr. Hancock. We really appreciate it. Okay.
Have a great meeting.
All right, thank
You
you.
too.
You too.
Thank you.
You have a great evening. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. We have the next presentation by residents. The time is 7:41. Do we have any presentations by residents? And Debbie, you may have to monitor the list. I'm not getting a great shot here on my screen.
Let me pull my screen back up. I just took it down for a second. We have Elaine Kelly, John King, and Ken Swartz. And there's a caller.
Okay. So is anybody interested? Does anybody have anything to say under the residents presentation right now? You'll either have to raise your hand or speak up, please.
I do. This is Eileen Kelly.
Okay, go ahead, Eileen.
Hey, everybody. I appreciate your time. I'm trying to turn on my camera. There we go. I'm coming asking for some clarity. I'm pretty confused. As you guys all
Eileen,
know,
can you tell us where you live, please, just for the record? I know where you are, but
of course you know. I live at 11002 Kenilworth Avenue. As all of you know, the sidewalk was recently built in front of our house, which we are thrilled with. And to make the sidewalk possible and to get over a tree root, it had to be very raised in front of our driveway. And then a ramp had to be built from our driveway to the sidewalk itself. That's caused considerable ponding, and we are concerned about that. We brought that to CACI, and we were told several times verbally and in email that it would be fixed as part of the work that they were doing. We spoke with the liaison to Patriot. He said it would be fixed. He came up with lots of different plans. I believe we spoke with a council member about it when they were speaking about something else with us. It was even brought up in the town meeting last month as being on the punch list. And we've recently heard that everyone who inspected the site said it would not be covered by the grant to solve this ponding that was created. So I'm confused and I'm looking for some clarity.
okay. I can address that under the Safe Routes to School update if you'd like.
Great, I will hang around and listen to that. Will I be able to ask questions at that point, or is that not a question period?
Well, it isn't, but I think, you know, for everybody's benefit, I already had sent you a reply about why, you know, this was decided this way. So let me just address it. And if it doesn't address your questions, certainly may ask some questions. We'll see how far we can go.
Thank you,
Okay?
I appreciate it.
Okay. All right. If there isn't anybody else, we're going to move to, we don't have any, yeah, we have an action, don't we? Yeah. Maybe I don't have an updated agenda, but now we're at action on the agenda, and I believe we have an introduction of an ordinance that someone will have to make a motion of, but I think we first would like to hear a little background on that, Stephen, if you'd like, or we don't have to, actually. It's up to you. It's up to council members. This is a council action, so.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about it as I can either give a 1 minute flyby, or I could do 2 minutes, or I could give it the full kind of briefing and probably take 5 or 6. So it's up to everyone else what they feel is useful.
I thought your written information was excellent. I don't know if everybody else had the chance to read it, but so I really read it and understand it. So I'm okay with a more summary approach, but I'm certainly happy if anybody else hasn't had a chance to do it, to have you take the time. It's a good topic.
And sorry I didn't get it out earlier. I had it mostly done on Friday, and my OneDrive went crazy. I finally got it back today, so I couldn't open the file. So I made the last minutes and sent it. Yeah.
All right, why don't you give us a couple minutes summary, and then if council members have more questions, you can address them.
Okay. Yeah, and I can send a copy of this. I think Ken is covering for Bugle, but I can send you, unless I'm wrong, I can send you a copy of this, Ken. But Land Use Advisory Committee, we've been looking at a couple of things, and one I wanted to propose for an introduction tonight is actually something we started talking about last year. And I learned it was even talked about for many years before then, about corner lots that might have a side street condition. But we're also looking at a lot of other things, just different ways to kind of coordinate better with the county. And we have a lot of kind of things that were just done at different times as far as the different levels of zoning that we have. We have R90 just the same as White Flint Park next door, but then we have an overlay on top of that, and then our ordinance on top of that. Some of these things even conflict with each other. So the ordinance is the one that really trumps them all if it's most restrictive, but that's an example of one of the things we're proposing for tonight is that kind of conflicted those two levels. Also just looking at trying to avoid variances, especially ones, and George and I talked about this one a lot, is we don't want to have a variance just because something says it on the book, even though there are times that surprisingly it goes against what really the goals are of the town and the goals of having our land use regulations and our historic preservation actions. It kind of goes against it just to meet the rules. So we want to try to make sure we can make things where it's really the primary goal is all those other goals. It's not, you know, and if the rules are kind of inadvertently getting in the way, let's see if we can find ways to not do that. Also trying to, been blowing the dust off the land use task force from 2010. A lot of things that were, a lot of work was done on that back then. Just kind of want to see what should go in and be like an introduced ordinance change, kind of like what we have today. But for today, it's fairly simple. And I described this a couple times that it was coming in other meetings. And one of the reasons why it took so long is we were trying to figure out like what's really the best way to do this. We don't want to kind of fix one thing and inadvertently open up some other things, but we realized at the end it was really the simplest thing might be to just add the word front to, there's one line in the ordinance that basically says, and that's the one again that trumps everything else, that says no construction shall be near to any front street, would be now than 30 feet. So what you have now is any corner lot, you had to pull in 30 feet from both sides. And the change would make it go back to kind of what was allowed in the 90s and the 2000s with the Garrett Park overlay. That was all put in and ahead. If you had a certain condition, you could have 30 feet from the front and then 15 feet from the side. And the only times that really happens is if you have a lot where you have neighbors to your left and you go around the corner. If you don't have another neighbor to your right on that street and their lot actually is on the other corner, then that could be a side street condition. Or if you have a lot where you have neighbors on the one side and then you go around the other side, you don't have even a house, you have a park or another use. So there's really not that many conditions like that in town. So George put together a nice map that has shows there's really just 10 of them in the town. There are a lot of corners in town and they vary all kinds of different shapes. But it's really just those 10 that have that condition. And the vast majority of those are really unchanged since 1891 plan. I think only 1 or 2 of them have changed since then. So part of what I got into is that was really the way towns were planned back then. You had really more of a more modestly width house on a modest width lot, and you got a lot of space in the back for a garden and other things. You didn't really have what you started to have in more of the mid-century. You'd have a lot that was wider in the front and less deep in the back, and it was really the prominence was the front lawn and a wider, more ranch style house instead of we have a lot of like 30-foot wide 2-story houses in our town. So that change happened and zoning started really coming in to the United States around that time. So a lot of the zoning rules are really about how to shape development on that kind of a lot. And we just don't have that. So we get these kind of mismatches. And then also put in a drawing that shows kind of where originally there were like 30 of these conditions just in the eastern half of town. There may have been more out to the west. I don't think there were a ton. But over time, a lot of things have changed. Like some of the blocks, all the houses actually, their lots actually turn 90 degrees. So there's been a fair amount of change, but 10 of these still remain, like I was saying before, basically the same way they were in 1891. And the big difference is if you have, the zoning's really set up to be for 30 feet pulled back on both sides. So if you're in White Flint Park and you have kind of a square shaped lot, you can choose, you could, make your house face one street or the other, or have it on an angle in the corner and be comfortably behind 30 feet and have a reasonable backyard and kind of match all the other houses on your block. Whereas with it's inadvertent, but with the shape of our lots in town, with so many that are 50 by 200 feet, they're 4 times longer than they are wide. If you have that 30-foot requirement on both sides, it's easy on the one side, but on the other side, you got 30 feet you're pulled in, 10 feet from your neighbor on the other side, which leaves you enough for a mobile home basically in the middle. It's a 10-foot strip you could build. So nobody would realistically build that. And it would be kind of like a difficult situation. We'd have to like deal with those on a variance basis in perpetuity. So we were feeling it was recommendable to go ahead and allow those 15-foot side street setbacks for those few lots that in town that do have that kind of legacy footprint from the 1890s. And it's all kind of conditional. So all we're recommending is that would be allowed in town and in the town ordinance and in the overlay. But I have language in there saying that it has to be if it meets the classification of Montgomery County. So they have a lot more people with a lot more definitions and feedback that they can put together to kind of interpret what is literally a side street to them. So that this would kind of like put it back onto them. So Garrett Park would be basically saying if this does get approved, then if the county says you have a side street, then Garrett Park would follow suit. We wouldn't really have to determine it even. So that's, in a nutshell, that's basically what it is trying to just give something for those corner lots so they're much more similar to what their next door neighbor is, even though they were really meant to be exactly the same when they were originally designed. So hopefully that explained it all. Kaki, you're on mute. Kaki, you're on mute.
Yes, sorry.
Sorry.
And I was still talking. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Stephen?
Yes, this is Ken Schwartz doing the reporting for the Bugle. Since I'm coming in on this very late, Stephen, it would be useful if you could give me maybe your interpretation, and I might migrate into the reporter's report for the Bugle.
Will do. Yeah, I'll send that. Why don't I email that before I forget? So
Thank you.
Does anybody on the council have want to make a motion?
This is Jerry Lee. Stephen, I have a couple of questions.
Okay. Shoot.
So how soon would this take effect if this ordinance is introduced today?
Well, it has to be, I think it's 30 days in the ordinance, either in the ordinance or the charter, or any kind of a change to the ordinance has to have at least that 30-day review period. So
correct.
at the soonest, it could be brought back up for approval at the January meeting. Yeah, or adoption at the January meeting.
Yeah.
So.
And Stephen, so did the town's attorney review this language and agree to or suggest the specific language?
No, and I actually put together that ordinance proposal, so it wouldn't hurt, like if we could have somebody take a look at that and see if anything should be adjusted in there. And
Yeah, I read it.
I
thought you did a great job.
Oh, thanks. I mean, it's just if there's anything that needs to be adjusted, it could be open to that.
This is Phil. What I would suggest is that, because it's kind of confusing, is that if what we're going to do is add the word front, that what we do is go in and say, you remove this, 402C1 as it exists, and replace it with the new sentence, essentially.
Yeah, I agree, because it's a little unclear as it currently is listed as to what the final language would be.
So would you like just to have what the sentence will read, because it's simply updating. It's updating the section 402C1 with the word front, but maybe having what the actual how the sentence would read, Stephen, might be helpful.
Would be better.
Where you say right at the end, be it finally resolved, section 402C1 shall be updated to add the word front, and then state that such that the statement will read, or such that it will read.
Mm-hmm.
It will read, and then we put that in quotes, and that no main building or new construction shall, i.e. that no new main building or new construction shall be nearer to any front street right of way than 30 feet. So we'll put that one sentence in. Good idea, Phil.
Yeah, sounds good. So would it say like what it was or what it is at the top, and at the bottom what it will be in full?
That would be my suggestion, is both what it is, and then you just say will be replaced with, and then you have what it will be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. So from a purely logistical standpoint, if this language is amended and then it gets posted publicly, can you still stick with that time frame if it's posted publicly within a certain number of days based on the edits from tonight?
We haven't introduced it yet, and it can be introduced with this slight change. and then we'll make sure that we revise the the introduction, and then when we prepare the final version for adoption, we'll have the final version in of the sentence. So you can introduce it with this change, with this amendment.
And my understanding is it has to be a minimum 30 days, but it doesn't have to be that's the maximum either. So if there's still
I believe you
some time
need
needed.
at least two, maybe you just said that, Stephen. The minimum
guess-
is 30. You need 2 council meetings. One to introduce and one to, yeah.
So I think it's not really a problem if it has to be pushed to like introduce it, say we introduce it today, that to kind of hold it on January and complete it in February one way or the other,
Yeah,
if
sure.
that's desired.
You're absolutely right. You're right, Stephen. That's right. Okay.
You could do that. I mean, but it's typically done it. The 30 days is basically the 2 council meetings, you know, so you would introduce it, and then at the January council meeting, we would, you know, we would vote on it for the final time.
Yeah, that's usually the way it's done. So.
And I'm fine with doing it that way also.
Jerry Lee, how's that?
All right. So
sound,
is there
or?
something else? Anything else?
No, thank you, Stephen. That clarifies the questions I had too. So thank you.
Okay.
So does anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we introduce it with the change that we've already discussed.
Yes, go ahead.
Well, I propose that we introduce, ordinance 2021-01, amendment of Chapter 4, Building, Housing, and Business Regulations, with the change of the last paragraph basically stating what the sentence was and then what the sentence will be.
Okay. Is second.
I'll second that motion to introduce it as amended.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so Jerry Lee, you're in favor. Phil, you're in favor. Stephen, you are. Mario and Dan?
Stephen, should I abstain since I have a corner lot? Just as a matter of protocol, maybe it's better that I'm not, you know, one way or the other.
That's your call, but this kind of a condition doesn't really apply to yours since you have the neighbors both sides.
Yeah.
It's up
Okay.
to you,
I'm in support.
Okay, great. All right,
Same.
everybody. All right, this is approved unanimously. Thank you, Councilmember Steve.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thanks for all your work on that, and to the rest of the Land Use Committee, Stephen. Pass that along, okay?
Thank them as well. It's great
Okay.
working with them on it. So.
Okay, good. So this proposed land use ordinance, this under new business, I think that's, I'm not sure, is that supposed to be new business? Okay, so we already took care of that. Okay, and there's no other new business, so let's just go with the town updates. And it's 8 o'clock on town updates, 8:01. Okay, so with SRTS, we are still wrapping up the punch list. We got most everything done, some of the concrete fixes that needed to be done, the slopes of a few places on the sidewalk, as well as some vertical head walls were done, which are basically like curbs inside the sidewalk edges. So that got done. Some of the grouting had to get done. We are still waiting on a second lead walk to be completed at 10930 Claremont. I guess the problem with that is getting this contractor to come back because they're on other jobs. So that's you know what's holding this up. There was a question here posed about 002 Kenilworth. And for everybody's benefit, if you didn't hear this, is that while we all put it on the punch list, we all agreed it could go on the punch list, it was also under review during the time that the punch list was finally being walked and looked at and discussed with contractors and District 3 engineers, that this was not a pre-existing condition, so to speak, and that it could not be under the current grant fund. And so that's how it was left. I've been talking with our town manager, with Debbie, about whether or not we can get some help from the maintenance crew to create some kind of a trenching to help get the water from where it's ponding on the property of the driveway, the southern section of the driveway, out onto the street, or a path that used to take before the sidewalk and driveway were done, driveway apron. So that's kind of where we are with that. And if Eileen Kelly, if you're still on the call, is there something else you want to ask about?
Kaki, before we go to Eileen, this is Jerry. Could you clarify what solution was on the punch list? Was it that same channel and trenching solution, or was it something different?
No, it wasn't specific as much as it was to create a positive flow for stormwater from from ponding to exit. It was to fix the ponding. That was basically what it said. Fix the ponding.
And Kaki, you used the phrase pre-existing condition, but you said that it couldn't be punch list because it was not a pre-existing condition. I didn't quite follow that. Could you explain that a little more?
Right. Everybody decided that that was not a pre-existing system. It wasn't on the map, the drawings. When contractors got there, they didn't notice any kind of, there wasn't any kind of evidence of an actual real trench or anything. So they were not aware that there had been any kind of exit way for the stormwater on the driveway, which is what Eileen Kelly was, hoping would get fixed, because they had that water coming down the white apron and making a right-hand turn to continue south in front of the berm, and then it would cross the driveway of Paul Dixon, which the Dixons and Eileen and Sanjay had agreed to years ago that it would be okay to let their stormwater run off into the Dixons' property. None of this was evident, and it wasn't on any of the design drawings. So by virtue of that, there was no, that's what we mean by no, it was not pre-existing, according to our civil engineer as well as the contractors.
This is Eileen Kelly and Sanjay. So the ponding was caused by the sidewalk, by the construction of the sidewalk, because of the way that it was constructed.
Right.
So we didn't need anything before. It wasn't a pre-existing condition because it was fine before. The sidewalk has caused ponding. And therefore, it seems that it should be alleviated by some work that should be done.
So we are looking at trying to fix that in-house, Eileen, which we've been doing with some other areas around town for stormwater problems.
I appreciate that, Kaki. I think Sanjay has a question here as well, if you don't mind.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Just wanted to get some sense of assurance from the town, because we got it in writing that it would be through the punch list, and then there was no follow-up. Now we learned that actually this is. So can we get some assurance that this will be taken care of?
What didn't you get in writing? Sanjay, what didn't you get in writing?
No, we got it in writing that this would be fixed by the contractor. And then
there was a subsequent
asking
email that I sent.
whether we
Did
have
you
some
see that one,
assurance.
Sanjay?
I
Did
am
you see that one? And that's why I said we couldn't get it done covered by the grant, but we would be looking to see if we can take care of it by the town. I believe that was the last thing I sent.
Sanjay has your email, and I've read it as well. It says everyone who inspected the site said it would not be covered by the grant. I didn't know who everyone was, and now I have some clarity on that. So that's very helpful. As a resident, I am incredibly distressed that both verbally and in writing, I was told something, that by a town employee, the liaison to Patriot, I was told something, that it was brought up in a town meeting and everyone agreed that it would happen. And now I'm being told that maybe it will happen in-house. I'd like some assurance that it will happen by the town maintenance crew or some other source. I'm very concerned about sort of this as a faith in government issue at this point.
Kaki, this is Dan. I have a question. Have we, so this is a bigger picture question. Have we paid Patriot their final money? Like is the punch list certified complete and we've paid them?
No, the punch list is not certified complete. There's still at least one and actually two outstanding items. Another one is a guy wire that crosses over the sidewalk, which is by ADA standards too low, so that has to get raised by Pepco. So there are at least two issues, and they haven't been paid their final invoice yet. And then after that, of course, there's a lot of reconciliation. So let me say this for Eileen and Sanjay's benefit. I agree that it should get fixed. So the question is, if we can't get the town to fix it, then we'll have to get a contractor to come in and do it. So I've yet to be able to really kind of hammer this out with Debbie and the maintenance staff, but it's definitely on our list to do so.
Thank you. I very much appreciate that.
Just so I understand it, I'm looking at the plan here. So, and it looks like from Dave Almey's side up on the, I guess he's your neighbor on the left, right, Eileen? Or on the right? And then you have the Dixons on the other side. Looks like everything slopes kind of from kind of parallel to Kenilworth, going from northwest to southeast. Is that correct? And then previously it sounds like the water drained out the driveway.
Yes, that's correct.
And now the sidewalk is built a little bit higher, so it's draining out and it's hitting a dam. So
it's not draining out, Stephen.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is it sounds like it's going to be redirected, kind of do an end run and go out the driveway pad of, or the driveway apron of the Dixons. Is that?
Well, this is what they had before. We can't improve. We're not to improve what was there, but we are. I do feel that we are responsible to make sure that there's always positive water flow and should not be ponds. So Sanjay and Eileen have an incredible amount of stormwater that comes down from the north side, from the northwest side, from up above, near Dave Almey's, from that direction, and it floods down their driveway. And because now it doesn't really have the exodus, it does pond right near the base of at the south end of the driveway. And so what the idea is to cut a channel, because we can't cut through the driveway. The apron is humped as well. It's a continuation of the sidewalk that had to be raised to get over a substantial structural root of the tree. So now we have to just cut a channel and then direct that around to the front of the berm, if that's possible, and then cut it. It'll flow again towards Alden's garden that he's got, where there's a stone, a river, French drain with river rock and so forth. That's what was there years in the past.
So it'll sweep around. Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of what they had before, but now we have to get the dirt moved. I don't think it's a big job. I think it can get done. That's why I need to talk with Debbie and the guys. Okay.
And Kaki, this is just Dan. So it's great on behalf of Eileen, and it sounds good that you're saying like there will be a solution. I just have a question as far as the money cost of that. If in its simplest form, if the condition, let's call it ponding, didn't exist prior to Patriot's work and it exists after, how is it not very simply cause and effect and therefore responsibility? I wouldn't think it has anything to do with what's included in something. It is now a effect of their activity, thus they're on the hook to remedy it. And I'm happy to talk to you more offline, but in its simplest form, I wouldn't want to see the town off. I wouldn't want to see the contractor off the hook financially. But I'm totally with you, sort of regardless, right? Like Eileen and her family deserve a resolution, and it sounds like you're totally on that. So I was just concerned, or I don't know, concerned, just interested on the money liability.
Sure. There is no unit bid item where it can be costed, number one. Number two, the ponding isn't even on, the ponding was always about the sidewalk. You can't have any ponding on the sidewalk. ADA issues. This is inside their property, so it's even beyond the limit of disturbance, even though Sanjay and Eileen said, yeah, you guys, if you want to come beyond that, that's fine. And I think we did that, Eileen and Sanjay, when we had to extend your driveway apron a little bit. I think we went a little bit further into your property otherwise it would have been too steep. So there is that also. I mean, the ponding issue for construction for the sidewalks is that it can't pond on the sidewalk. So this was a different type of animal. And also there's no unit bid cost to which you can bill it to. And that's, it's very nominal, the amount, if we go with any kind of a contractor, but I think it really can be done with our guys.
Got it. Okay, if the amount's nominal, I won't beat a dead horse.
The amount is not nominal, right? Okay.
So, Kaki, this is Jerry Lee. Would it be possible for the town to provide a letter to the Pahuja family indicating what the proposed solution is and an approximate time frame of how long it would take to enact it, to give them some assurance that this is underway?
Yeah, sure. When we have a better idea of the schedules, we can do that. We already know what the solution has been because we have talked. I have talked. Other people have talked with Eileen and Sanjay about what we could do. So I don't see us veering away from that. But we have yet to let's get the council, the maintenance staff out to look at it, see if they have a different type of remedy, and we can write something up. I don't have any kind of way of knowing the schedules of people yet. But once we know what we're going to do, we certainly can put that in writing. Okay.
Thank you very much to all of you for working on this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to archives, Bill. It's 8:16, I just want to say.
Okay. So as reported in November, a few virtual volunteering opportunities were created. One or a group of these was to transcribe handwritten documents, and the other was to do genealogy research in some of the town's early Black and African American residents. Currently, there are 8 individuals, mostly students, doing the transcribing, and they have transcribed over 100 pages of old meeting minutes and other handwritten documents. In addition, there is one volunteer engaged in genealogy research. Due to the current restrictions on the number of people allowed in the post office lobby, Claire's decided not to install a new exhibit, so the current Momsen submarine exhibit will stay. However, in lieu of a new exhibit, physical exhibit, she's has created a holiday-themed online exhibit that will be shared via the town forum and email and other links on the website that'll be put up next week. And hopefully in 2021, we'll be able to get back to some physical exhibits, and she said that she has a few fun ones in the works. In addition to all that, she's been working with the town office to make storm drain plans and drawings available to the contractors, including having to take several oversized plans and drawings to the contractor's office for large format scanning. And that is it for archive.
Great. Can't wait to see the holiday themes. Okay. Jerry Lee.
Hi, for the Arboretum Committee, I wanted to encourage everyone to look at the Bugle article that the Arboretum Committee submitted this month, providing winter care tips for your own trees on your property over the winter. For example, you can and should water trees when it's 40 degrees and above, as long as there hasn't been a lot of rain for any period of time. It encourages residents to put a mulch blanket around their trees and not to use sodium-based ice melt, rather to use ice melt products containing calcium, potassium, or magnesium chloride instead to protect the tree roots. The committee is continuing to work with Debbie on procurement for the Porcupine Woods Outfall Renewal Project. And also the committee is continuing to work on a draft ordinance and companion regulations using the recent traffic and parking regulations as a model. And that's it for this month.
Great. Okay, Stephen, anything more on land use? Or do you want to skip over to the historic preservation?
Yeah, probably can skip it because I actually inadvertently blended it together. I meant to talk about the land use task force and other topics this part, but already covered it. On preservation, there hasn't really been too much happening as far as the committee work. So we actually let go of the December meeting. They'll probably have one in January, but town hall renovation, I've been working on that. So I was going to try to do a meeting this month. I'm going to go ahead and schedule it for, I think like after the holidays, maybe like the second half of January would be enough time to like get it done. And I have some folks that are going to pitch in and help on that. So it'll be kind of a presentation like we had before, but just like the second stage of that, taking the information from the first meeting and, you know, what does it all mean? So I'll pull together like a meeting notice about that. We can, with the town office's help, we can get that out on GPML. So with an exact day.
Great.
So that's that.
And you said you've got a few people who may be able to help with this presentation or, you know, kind of workshop. Is this people from the preservation, the Historical Preservation Committee, or are these other people? Is this sort of the same as the workshop group that we talked about last month that would be helpful if you had somebody?
Yeah, actually,
Okay.
continuance of the Historic Preservation Committee helping with that.
Okay.
Also, George Martin's he's offered to help with me, or I asked him, and he was good with doing it, help pull together some of the drawings. So that's really what it's about now, is kind of putting together concept level drawings, and got some help from somebody on trying to pull together kind of budget ideas on it as well. And that person's on the call. It's Ken. So,
Okay.
so if his offer still stands, I think we got a lot of different angles to look at it.
Okay, great. Thank you, Stephen. Anything to say about the train whistle? That would be Dan or Phil.
Yeah, sure. I can just update the town on the status. So we have engaged Allison Foltz. She's a consultant and an attorney, but she has a specific practice focusing on regulatory and transactional matters with transportation. So she'll be great for us. Her firm, she works at Kaplan Kirsch Rockwell. They do have a DC office, and actually years ago her firm did some work for the town. So they're familiar with the town. She's been great. We've kicked off the project, and she'll be presenting her. I've connected her with some folks in town to help her gather some additional information from Bill Rivers and the Lydens and anyone else that may have specific intel that can help her in her study. And then at our next council meeting, we can expect Allison Foltz to do a presentation for all of us and provide her written report, which is the final deliverable of their first phase of work that they're engaged to. And the goal of that is to give us all clear understanding. Oh, I thought that was a train horn I heard right then.
It is.
Is that the train horn? I was
Yes,
getting it
it
in
is.
real life and through my computer from one of you, or all of you. That was great. So perfectly, the timing was nice. There it is. So,
How did you figure that one out, Dan? I don't know.
So anyways, at our next meeting, we'll get a full report, and that report should lay out for us what are the town's options relating to reducing the number of train horns while still maintaining safety, and we'll understand ideally options and what could be done, and if there are costs or pathways associated to the horn reduction. So I'm excited that finally the town will have an expert in these matters present a report. And I think for the folks in town who care about this topic, they'll be glad to kind of have it all consolidated and presented by a professional.
Wonderful. When did you say we might have some kind of report presented?
She'll report there. She's sort of contracted with us to present her report at our January town council. So whatever our usual January meeting is.
All right, great. Thank you. And we'll get a read ahead on that, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Just want to tack along an issue on that. I just thought of it because Dan was talking about this person specializes in transportation issues. I don't know if it even is related, but like the modified mufflers going back and forth on Strathmore are really have gotten out of hand, in my opinion. I'm guessing I'm not the only one that thinks that. I'm curious if I'm not the only one, or if I am the only one that thinks that. I even hear them down in like Rock Creek Park. Sounds like drag racing and all this. It just seems like it's really escalated over the last year or two. And I'm wondering, I know there's a law in Maryland that says that it's illegal to have a modified muffler. So I just don't know whatever happens with that. I'm wondering if it's possible to tag along with this issue to kind of see if an interpretation of that could be looked into, and then to see if it, if it really applies, or if, where you take that from as a town. Like, does it go to the state legislature or what, or police, or who? So
let me make a suggestion. If the town office, Debbie, if you could check into this with the county, what kind of rules there are, because I do hear it, Stephen. It is, I hear it over on the, I guess it's
probably
Schuylkill.
Yeah.
Schuylkill Road, and man, I don't know what they're driving. But let's take a look at that first, and then we can get back to you on that, and then what next steps would have to be if we need next steps. Maybe simply just getting somebody to come out from the county to put a muffler on that.
I wonder if it's an MML thing, even as a question additionally too, because I wonder if other towns are having the same concern come up, like Kensington, Chevy Chase, Bethesda, anywhere. It seems like it's like a culture change almost. So
can you just for my what am I looking into again?
We're looking into either whether it's drag racing, modified loud mufflers on cars, and noise ordinance. All of those three different kinds of things, whether any of those can be sort of leveraged to silence what we're hearing on the streets at night. Particularly, I am aware of it on Schuylkill, and Stephen, you said it was on Strathmore too?
Yeah, it's pretty common on Strathmore, and then like I can really hear it in the backyard. Just I'll put the decibel meter on my phone because I have it for work, and I'm surprised what the numbers go up to. It goes up like into the 80s. And I'll hear it like down on Beach Drive, kind of over where on the flip side of the culvert, like so it's almost like a mile away through the woods, and it sounds pretty loud from there. Then it seems like I think that would classify as a nuisance.
I'm assuming we have a noise ordinance.
I'm not sure if we do have anything on that.
On our charter? You mean in our charter?
In our code, do we have a noise
ordinance? I actually do think we.
There is no noise ordinance for Garrett Park. We county
opted into the county, aren't we?
Pardon me?
No, we opted out of that. I can.
Oh, we're opted out of the county. Okay.
We opted out of the county. We opted out, so we don't have noise ordinance. That notwithstanding, most of the problems are occurring outside of Garrett Park or on a state highway. Would
Right.
not be covered by any Garrett Park ordinance.
This is correct. Right.
I just pulled it up.
Let's-
It's a state law. It's Maryland Transportation Section 22-402. You may not modify your muffler.
Great. Well, we don't know what the condition is. I mean, I was wondering if it was just a motorcycle, so I have no idea. Well,
It's
we should
mostly
get.
cars. Yeah.
We'll see if we can get them out.
Okay.
Could you make a? Could you look into that for us, Debbie?
Yeah, okay. What statute was that again, Stephen? Maryland statute what?
22-402.
22
-402.
02, okay.
Virginia
And
has an even
it's
stricter
not-
law than we do, and California has a stricter law than that. It's
Okay. All right.
You know,
Great. Mhm.
we'll find out, but I'm not even 100% sure we'll be able to do anything, because the other thing is that you can buy mufflers that are already modified to make the noise that we hear. So I'm not really sure. I mean, because the muffler, there will be a muffler on the vehicle. It's just that it's been tuned in a certain way to amplify the noise.
Okay.
Yeah,
We'll look into it. We'll see if we can get somebody to come out and observe or listen, because it is loud.
yeah, it'd be great.
Okay. We'll get back to you on that.
I'm wondering if we can call the second district non-emergency police and have them place a few police cars in the park, to see if they can't apprehend those who making all the noise and give
I
them a
defer that.
citation.
Right. I defer it to Debbie and Elizabeth. You guys, take a crack at it first. Okay.
Okay, because we probably should have a code that for a noise ordinance code. That way, if it needs to be monitored, the police department should have. I forgot what they're called. We had them in Bladensburg. Where they measure sound, and if the sound is over a certain decimeter, then it'd be considered a nuisance.
Even if it's not in our town.
It's not in our town.
This noise is not in our town, Debbie.
It's not in the town. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'd like to move on, because I think we know the next steps that we've got to take. I'm going to defer that to Debbie and to Elizabeth. Okay. So next is the town manager's financial report, and it's 8:30.
Well,
If you'd like to say something.
No, all I had to say is that, and I already gave you my report, so you already have my report, that the October revenues, operations and capital budgets are at expected levels of what we projected at this point for the most part. And total revenues and expenses are within projections as well. We may have to be coming back sometime in January or February to do a budget amendment, but right now everything is on track.
Okay, great. If there aren't any other questions by council members, I'd like to adjourn.
Yes, I've got a quick question. The town administrative support staff began preliminary research into the feasibility of having an automated mass notification program. I'd be interested in hearing what's going on with that at some point.
Who is
Right
this? Is this Phil?
Yeah.
You were interested in bringing that forward, weren't you?
We had talked about it, and we hadn't really come up with a good way, and that's why I was kind of interested, because it says that apparently the support staff is looking into it, so I'm interested in just finding out what the thoughts are.
Right now, we just started looking into it. Joanne has reached out to Granicus, who does the website, to see if there's anything that we can do through the website. So right now, we're just looking at options. We don't have anything specific to
Okay.
put back on.
Okie doke.
Okay, it is 8:32 and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Khaki.
All right.
Good
Happy
night.
holidays.
All right. Happy holidays, everyone.
Holidays, everybody. Be safe.